Hi, I'm Fernando Fernandez for FERNTV, and we're here with Corinne Dunphy, and she's got a film called Well Fish, and it's showing here at Planet in Focus. And of course, the first question we're going to ask her is, what inspired you to make this film?
Well, I came to Toronto from Nova Scotia, and this was actually a student film that I did for my MFA in doc media. And so originally how this started was that I just wanted to do something that I could invest 2 years in, that I wasn't going to get bored of, and that I was really connected to originally. So, I mean, picking a subject living in Toronto, in Nova Scotia, was a little bit of an issue, but it gave me reasons to go home and, investigate something that I loved further, which is like the small boat fisheries. So I guess that's kind of how it started. And originally it was a project that had to do with, it was a photo book, and it had to do with these two fathers that were fishing in communities close to where I'm from. And when I kind of put two and two together and realized that they had daughters that were actually working with them, that seemed like an interesting perspective to take.
Now, how do the old school fishermen feel about women becoming involved in the fisheries industry, of course, and what is their take on it?
Well, I can't speak for all old fishermen, but I think just having youth in general stepping up and getting on the boats is important to like all of the small coastal communities in Nova Scotia, and kind of the more the merrier. Like as it says in the film, like if an old man can do it, why can't a young female do it, right? Like I mean, there's some in certain fisheries, there's some physical, constraints that you have to take into consideration, but to be a captain of your own boat, like there's, you're kind of the director in a sense. So I think, both of these fathers were super supportive, and yeah.
So how do you feel about making a film that is like more happy? It's very community-based film rather than most of the environmental films that we see today, which is very negative, super depressing.
I really wanted to make an optimistic film, and I think, because again, this was a student project, my presentations and my, everything leading up to this film was kind of depressing, and it was kind of depressing me the more research I would do, and I was like, you know what, there is hope, there is optimism, and there's room for change. I wouldn't call it an activist film at all, but I feel like by showing these two women in their community and just kind of like showing this like preservation of life and like a culture, I think that can speak volumes rather than being, kind of stating those facts of like the fisheries are in decline, and what's happening, to our environment. And I think the threat of the, this whole modernization idea that the Canadian government imposed on the small boat fisheries is kind of shown. It's shown rather than said in the film. But yeah, I guess. So I don't know. I wanted to keep it optimistic because it is a fun film, and my target audience was youth, and so I thought that by, making it playful and, giving people in small communities alternative options rather than like having to go work out west would be something good for them.
Now, you made this a short film, and do you feel that a short film will get the message across to a lot of viewers rather than making a feature-length film?
To be honest, the reason I did a short film was because within you know, being a one-man show kind of in your, like in this program, there was no option to make a feature film. But I think actually right now, like with the publicity that it's getting, the short form is actually working really well for me. And I think in terms of exposure. So, I mean, my film, Well Fished, has been shown in schools in Nova Scotia, and, you know, it's 20 minutes long, so it can kind of captivate the minds of, like, a younger audience as well. And it's, you know, it's great for web because people's attention spans can be a lot shorter these days.
Yeah.
So.
And how do you feel that this film is relevant to this type of film festival, that being Planet in Focus?
Again, like just to kind of speak upon what I said earlier, the optimism can be a good thing. It's like, you know, it's good to be realistic about issues, but at the same time, it's like if you don't have optimism, what is, you know, like where do we go from here? And because it does target a younger audience, I think that is really important. Yeah.
And can you tell us a little bit about maybe perhaps some of your future projects?
So I'm working on a film right now. It's about a man, and he's kind of, it's my first film that I've kind of made in Toronto about Toronto.
Right.
So it's a film, like point of view kind of film about a man that's kind of going through significant changes. He just lost his restaurant, which is actually Captain John's, who's been in the news forever.
Oh, okay.
And it's not, yeah. So there's that one, and it's a short as well. But I'm looking at doing a little longer piece based in the East Coast in Newfoundland, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia about oil rig wives. So what changes in the family dynamics about when their husbands do the long distance commute out west to work.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and hope to see you again, and hope you give us another interview with your future projects, of course.
Thank you.